tell me where in the world is
crime in San Diego?
Welcome back to another episode of Where in the World is Crime in San Diego?
Happy Tuesday this week.
Yeah, we had a really busy weekend. Ensenada was awesome. The wedding was cool. And the only thing that wasn't cool was coming back.
Yeah, we weren't expecting the border wait to be as excruciating as it was.
Yeah.
So we have planned ahead better for this coming week. So this week for sure, or this following week, it will be out on a Monday.
Yeah. So I hope you guys had a chance to listen to Don't You Inhale, where we discuss Ashley Renee Williams and her huffing episode, driving under the influence and tragically taking the life of 4 pedestrians that all belong to one family. And just tragic events, honestly. It's one of those things that DUI, regardless if it's drinking, using drugs, or
Inhaling,
smoking,
whatever it is,
you're still driving under the influence, and it's going to cost you a lot.
We are thankful to everybody that shared, liked, followed the episode, listened to it on various platforms. You guys showed up. Thank you guys so much. And we are really happy that you guys enjoyed the episode and the way we were able to present it. It is a very difficult story. I started with that from the beginning. So just thank you for supporting us and for sharing their story. It means a lot.
Yeah. And then, me being a North County boy, a lot of people connected to it on a personal level, where we had people message us and be like, I was living up the street. I remember hearing the sirens. I remember hearing the crash and just everything that followed after. And it's just,
or knowing someone from the family or having worked with someone that was involved. It really hit close to home. And that's the reason we do this, is to spread that awareness. So
yeah. And then lastly, before we begin, Lunar Lotus, we still are accepting donations up to the end of the month, till the end of August 31st. So please continue donating to her amazing cause. And our 1-year event was amazing. Honestly, It was such a great turnout, and everybody that joined and did the class left feeling so much more confident in defending themselves, or even just learning at least a minimum 5 things. I can name a dozen, but I want to say,
and trust me, we're working on editing the footage. It should be up soon, so you guys can get a taste of it and get ready to join us on the next event, because there will be more coming. And honestly, as far as donations, any amount helps us so much. Whether you think it's it's only $1, it's only $2, it's only $5 I would have spent on a coffee, all of that adds up and helps. And we are really trying to achieve and surpass the goal of $1,000. And we are so close. We are literally under $100 away. So please, 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 anything you can do to help us get past that goal, let's do it.
Yeah, we'll definitely drop information for donations at the end of the episode or on our show notes. So please do that. On another note, before leading into this, Angie, you took it upon yourself where you left me in the dark. You left me in the blind.
This case is bananas. And I feel like you guys love this platform a lot more when it's Adrian's original reactions.
Or yours.
Or mine.
Yeah.
But this case is insane, guys. Wow.
Yeah, so you have the name title of the episode. You have your own little notes. So I am ready.
Ready?
I'm ready.
All right, guys, buckle up and let's get started.
Let's do it.
So this week's episode is called Triple M. Our sources for this week are San Diego Reader, which was huge in this. They did so much research. YouTube, Facebook, Find a Grave, Times of San Diego Union Tribune, Fox 5, and writeaprisoner.com.
Ooh, Triple M. Okay.
So disclaimers are murder, drug addiction, alcohol abuse, and gun violence. All right, let's get started. So we are going to start back in 2014 in El Cajon, California, or San Diego. For those that aren't familiar, that's around a little outside of Mission Valley.
A little outside Mission Valley, east of Mission Valley. You're kind of almost in the outskirts of the county, kind of where like it's like the main area. Well, it still takes you like 20 minutes to get to the beach from El Cajon, right?
Yeah, somewhere over there.
Somewhere
Right.
there.
But it's not far. It's like North Park, El Cajon, like they're all kind of connected, like center of San Diego-ish.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
All right. So we're going to start at Haram's gun store. And it was violently taken over by 3 men. So they armed, assaulted, and robbed a gun store,
Wow. Okay.
which is really brave and really dumb at the same time, if you ask me.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So out of the 3 men, one of them was a minor. He was 17 years old and 3 months away from turning 18. And this detail is important because he was banking on this. So obviously it's not hard to catch 3 guys when there's that much footage on a gun store. And they were caught literally within the 2 hours of the incident happening.
Oh, good. Okay.
They were pulled over and loads of guns in the car. So again, wasn't hard. When he was arrested, he was very aware of the fact that he was a minor at the time. Like this was like his number one defense to like, hey, I did it, but I'm 17, so you can't do anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because he was only 3 months and under 6 months away from turning 18, and because of the degree of the crime, he was tried as an adult,
Oh, wow. Okay.
which judges can make that call based on, again, case by case. So he ended up pleading guilty because obviously he was. And they cut him a deal trying to give him a chance as like, okay, he was a minor. Maybe the slap on the wrist will like. So they let him off with probation.
Wow.
But in less than 2 years, he violated that probation and he got sent back to state prison.
So first time offender, like little slap on the wrist, essentially. And
Kind of
now-
teaches you that the one chance doesn't work as a one chance.
Okay. Yes.
So in 2016, he somehow managed to, he claims that he always was very attractive, that women just are attracted to him.
Okay.
He claims that it's because he's very dominant and that's what women want. He had such an appeal that at one point he had a wife, a girlfriend that was pregnant in another state, 2 other girlfriends, and a teenage girlfriend that was currently still in high school. But it's not a crime to date women. These are his words, not mine.
Oh, man.
So let's start with the wife. In 2016, he started having this pen pal thing and they hit it off. And September 11th of 2016, they got married.
Oh, wow. What a day to get married.
Pretty. I was like, why does this date? And I'm like, yeah. So the honeymoon phase where, you know, she's constantly visiting and writing and, you know, sending him money and she's in love with him, kind of fades off really quickly. Within a couple months, she becomes pregnant from someone else.
The wife.
Yes.
Oh,
Because
wow.
she's on the outside. He's inside.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah.
So he finds out, he gets really angry, and he takes this as his ticket to be unfaithful in the marriage because she's obviously done the same, which is when he goes and enlists the other girlfriends.
Okay.
There was no explanation for the pregnant girlfriend that was out of state, but I know that it was part of like the whole pen pal thing. So what he would do is he would have numerous girlfriends, ask them to send him money to keep him alive, and this was his source of income. So one of the girls happened to be a girl from his past. When he first moved to San Diego from Oregon, he was new to the neighborhood, didn't have friends. One of his first friends had a little sister who was 2 years younger than him. Her name is Sheffah Chevis. So, of course, being a little girl and looking up to your big brother, you think his friends are cute because you're in that crushing age. And she wasn't alone. All her little friends thought the same. They're like, oh, he's cute and he's older and like, you know, you have a crush.
Mm-hmm.
So somehow during 2016, he manages to still be able to like text people. And like, he wasn't just using the online, you know, write a pen pal. Like he had a cell phone somehow and he was able to send text messages. So he was texting her back and forth. It was a friendship at the beginning. And then it started to take a turn. It became romantic.
While he's behind bars.
Yeah, he's behind bars the whole time but they're texting as friends, and then it just becomes normal.
Okay.
She is doing really well. She is an honor student. She's a cheerleader. She is about to graduate. She applied to multiple colleges and got accepted to all the ones she applied to. She's working as a babysitter. Like, things are looking really well for her. She has a bright future ahead of her. So for Christmas, she decides to go back to the Bahamas, where her family's from, or her mom's side, to go visit family. And she spends the whole Christmas breaks, like 2-3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
She works at her uncle's store at the mall. She goes to party with her cousins here on the weekend. She's touring. She's, again, just enjoying quality time. She comes back home and she turns 18 years old. And we know that mindset. When you turn 18, I'm my own boss. I can do whatever I want. I don't have to listen to you. And that combination with him getting out on parole at the same time that she came back to San Diego was pretty much just all bad. So she's aware that her brother and him are no longer friends because obviously he was in prison and did some bad things. Her mom calls him a thug. They're very clear on, like, he's a bad influence. You need to stay away from him.
Mm-hmm.
But good girls love bad boys.
Of course they do.
She keeps the relationship secret. She keeps seeing him. She keeps texting him. She gives him money. She gives him rides. She doesn't tell anybody because she doesn't want to get in trouble. She knows they're not going to accept it. Like, why go through the hassle? Her biggest fears is, one, her mom finds out, calls the cops, gets sent back to jail. Or two, her brother finds out, they get in a fight, and it escalates into something bigger because he doesn't want him with her.
Someone gets hurt.
So she's aware that, like, I shouldn't be doing this, but she continues to do it anyways. So to give you guys a little background on him, while he was in jail, he decided to get a couple tattoos. One of them was from a stillborn child that he had with one of his girlfriends. She started as a one-night stand, and then she got pregnant, and their baby was born stillborn. So they still chose a name, and he got that tattooed on the back of his neck. And that was Sione. And then he has a shark on the front of his neck. Pretty large, like covering the entire front of his neck. He has a cross on his right cheek because of how religious he is to his Christian community. Yeah, his Christian faith. So yeah, he's tatted in, like, all these places where it doesn't show that he's making the best decisions.
So what is his name? You haven't given us his name yet.
Oh, his name is Shyrehl Wesley.
Okay.
So he was at one point an aspiring rapper. He would do YouTube videos with music, and, like, he had a small production company. He also was up and coming as a hip hop dancer.
Okay.
So he performed in videos with the Black Eyed Peas, will.i.am, Gwen Stefani. So these girls, when they were watching him grow up, it wasn't just, oh, he's cute, but he's cute and he's going to be famous because he's already breaking into all these different so I'm assuming connections.
Since he was doing these kind of videos, I'm assuming, like, he was in shape, he was a fit. So that's probably why he was a little, like, I guess, conceited, because he was like, I look good.
Kind of. I mean, he was honestly kind of scrawny. He was 5'6" and 130 pounds.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He did have a little bit of a pretty boy look, if you will, and we'll have photos, obviously,
it's like a short
to show.
Teen status.
I guess so.
Okay.
So he starts this relationship with her. She gets out. They're keeping everything secret. And he's going back to his music videos. He's trying to, like, build himself up. He meets a guy, and he's 20, about to be 21. He's like 9 months away from being 21, or a couple months away.
Okay.
He meets a guy going into a liquor store. This guy's name is D'Angelo. And they hit it off right away. He asks him, hey, will you buy me some drinks? I'm not 21 yet. We've all done it at some point. And he's like, yeah, sure, no problem. They walk out. They end up becoming friends, switching information, getting along. D'Angelo didn't have the easiest childhood. He grew up with, a drug addict mom, mental health problems. At 16 or 17, he ended up leaving home and, like, living between like cousins and friends. He didn't get a chance to graduate high school. So he was kind of having it rough. He would make his money by going to the plasma and blood donation centers, the Octapharma.
Okay.
And he would donate his blood and his plasma every week, and then they would load it onto a Visa card for him. So whenever Wesley could, or whenever Shyrehl could, he would give him money. Like however he could help him out, he would. But to D'Angelo, who also went by D-Lo, he looked up to him. Like to him, it was like he has a car, he has a good family, you know, he has it all together. And those are things that he wanted to one day accomplish. Not to mention, he also had his career that he was building on YouTube and, you know, in that hip hop industry. So D-Lo also starts to come out in some of the YouTube videos. And one specific one of the last projects they worked on was called Blood in the Rain, where he's laying on the floor shirtless and playing a victim as blood is like raining down on him.
Oh, wow.
It's a little dark.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I watched it and we'll link it, but
taking it literally.
It's just a little weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
Art comes in all forms.
It's like Slayer, Rain and Blood.
Yeah. But he also started to build his own connections at the same time. He started to meet other dancers and, you know, artists.
Yeah.
And he ended up, this is a theory or rumor, that he joined a group called the Hefners, which I don't know if it was like a Hugh Hefner inspired, but it was a dance group.
Okay.
And Shyrehl wasn't invited into the group, only Angelo was. So it's kind of suspected that a little bit of jealousy started there.
Mm-hmm. I would assume so.
Yeah. Based on like, hey, if I'm trying to bring you in and then you're surpassing me, like maybe he wasn't ready for that. But either way, long story short, the boys were literally brothers to the point where they did that one thing that like only the best of friends do. They got matching tattoos.
Wow. Okay.
Wesley placed his right above his right eyebrow. And D'Angelo got his, but they didn't disclose where. But it was triple M's. So according to Shyrehl, that stands for money, music, motivation. But according to the prosecutor, that actually stands for murder, money, mafia.
Wow. Okay.
Which is like, they didn't say gang related, but it was like that mentality of like,
it's like an acronym.
Murder is like a way of life. Yeah.
It's like how people growing up in the 80s and 90s, people will watch like Blood in, Blood Out, and you would have like, or either just gang related stuff where like you would have, say for instance, the teardrop on your eye, or like the 3 little dots on your palm, right, or the top of your wrist right here. It's like, okay, so
like it's kind of recognized for something, but then you can also give it a different interpretation.
Oh wow, okay.
So it's one of those like in between arguable things.
Okay.
So during this whole secret relationship, Sharifa says that she lost herself completely. She was emotionally attached to him. She was financially being abused, physically being abused. She was just doing everything and anything she had to keep him happy and to keep him like accepting her, wanting her. And this meant following along with whatever he wanted. So at one point, or let's start with Shyrehl's story of what happened that day.
All right.
So we're going to hear his, hers, and then the truth. And you guys can determine which one makes the most sense. I think it's pretty clear, but there's still some question apparently.
All right. Lay it on us.
All right. So his story is that him and Sheffah were in the car and they were doing something called hotboxing.
Okay. Which
is when you smoke weed in a car, you roll it into a swisher, you roll up your windows and you kind of just inhale.
Yeah, you smoke, you don't let the smoke out of the car. You have your windows rolled up, you turn off the AC, everything stays inside the car.
Yeah, they're playing music, they're hanging out. Okay. They're in the driveway, in the car, like at home.
Okay.
And he actually goes through the process and explains to the jury like what a swisher is and how to roll a blunt and like step by step. She thought it was pretty funny.
Okay.
So anyways, they're sitting there and he claims that because they were in his car, his cell phone was in his car and like he wasn't paying attention to it. But that at some point, D-Lo or D'Angelo calls them and says, hey, I ran out of gas. I need a ride. So they go over to pick him up, and this is all happening like right before midnight. So at 12:20 a.m., they decide to go to a liquor store and buy some drinks. But of course, the boys aren't going to pay because they have a chauffeur who's also their wallet. So Sheffah gives them her card for them to pay. So they charge her card at 12:20, and then they go to Sunset Cliffs to hang out by the ocean.
Okay.
And this is around 1:15 a.m. according to cell phone records. So from there, they say that they get the random idea to go to LA to visit D'Angelo's cousin. So they start driving north, LA bound.
Mm-hmm.
And then around 3 a.m., they decide to just head back. And they start going on the 78. And they get off at some random exit in Vista. And they just try to look for an abandoned area to go keep drinking and smoking and playing loud music. And at this point, it's like somewhere between like 3 and 5 a.m. And that as they're sitting there, they're really tired. They're still smoking. They're still drinking. They're like looking for stuff on YouTube to listen to. And that D'Angelo mentions that the prior day, he had asked Wesley for money. So Wesley didn't have any. So he asked his baby's mom if he could have money because he owed somebody important. Mm-hmm. He even told her that his life was on the line. But it wasn't his life he was talking about. It was D'Angelo's, because D'Angelo owed some dangerous people a lot of money. So he was trying to make some sort of payment to like clear himself. And I guess that D'Angelo got a little impatient where he said like, oh, she's playing with my money or she's playing with my life. Something to the sense of like, it's urgent. Like we need it now. And Wesley got defensive because he said, that's the mother of my kid. Look at who you're talking to. He claims that D'Angelo and Sheffah were in the back seat rolling something up, and that he reached from the back seat to like kind of whack at him because he was in the front passenger seat. And that later he gets off the car and he starts calling Wesley to get off the car and fight him. Mm-hmm. And they start like egging each other on. They start going at it. And then in one of them, like he kind of moves out of the way and then hits him. And D'Angelo goes forward, hits his head on the ground. And then like he gets a little scared because like, oh shoot, he hit hard. But then he bounces right back up and keeps attacking him. And then he starts reaching for his waistband. And that's when Wesley realizes, oh, he has a gun. So he starts to try to wrestle him to get rid of the gun. The gun falls on the floor. A couple seconds later, you hear a couple gunshots. And he looks up and realizes that his girlfriend had shot D'Angelo. So she starts crying, get in the car, let's go, let's go, let's go. They grab the gun, they take off, they leave him there.
So, okay. So Wesley is claiming that the girlfriend shot
D'Angelo to protect him. Because he obviously had a gun and he was afraid that D'Angelo was going to kill Wesley. So she figured she would kill him first to stop him.
Wow. And then they just took off. Okay, continue.
Okay, so that's his story.
Okay.
Her story is that 10 days prior to June 11, 2017.
So June 17th is when...
Sorry, July.
July 17th is when the incident where D'Angelo is shot.
So they met up on Tuesday night, the 7/11 day. Mm-hmm. So July 11th. And then he was found Wednesday, July 12th.
Okay.
So there's this like overnight window that we're trying to fill in with these stories.
Okay.
So his story was that she did it in self-defense of him. Mm-hmm. Her story is that 10 days prior, he showed her a gun. And she was very surprised because obviously he's a convicted felon, and for his crime, he's not allowed to own guns. So she was very skeptical and scared for him. And that he showed her a picture of a man, and he said, "This is my family. And D'Angelo poisoned and killed him. So now I need to get him for what he did." So she gets kind of nervous and he's like, we need a plan. Are you down or are you not? Like, are you in? Are you going to help me? Or like, do I have to do this without you?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, at this point, she's conditioned to where she needs to follow along with everything he says. So she's like, okay, what's your plan? And he says, oh, I'm going to, I need to come up with something. I need to come up with something quick. So a couple days before, he starts telling her like, hey, I'm going to need you to clean out your car by Tuesday and be ready to pick me up. And she's like, okay. Like, again, like, what's going on? He's like, I'm just going to tell you where to go. Just follow my lead. Trust me. She's like, okay. So he picks her up, or she picks him up, and he makes sure to leave his cell phone in his car, parked at his house. And then he tells her that for the next couple hours, or like throughout the night, she's not allowed to answer any phone calls. So she's like, okay, like, let's, what are we doing? And he's like, I'm going to give you directions. You don't need to worry about where we're going. I'm going to tell you, turn left, turn right, guide you where we're going. And that's exactly what he does. Throughout the whole night, they pick up D'Angelo. They start driving around. At no point does she have any indication of where she's going other than where he's telling her to end up.
So the whole time when they went to go to Sunset Cliffs, that was him planning her to drive there, and then planning to go.
She didn't know she was going to end up at Sunset Cliffs.
She had no idea.
No.
And even
she didn't know she was going to end up at the liquor store. She didn't know she was going to end up on the 15 driving north. But she does say all of that matches and that all that's accurate.
Okay.
So that's the one consistency of their stories. One, his cell phone was in his car at his house. And two, that they were driving all over San Diego. And there's timestamps and liquor store footage. So everything up to that point is accurate.
Okay.
That while they're driving up to LA or like northbound, that she starts getting really tired and really sleepy. She's like, I just need to sleep. D'Angelo's passed out in the back seat. He's been out for a couple hours. And, there's just driving around aimlessly looking for where to go.
Yeah.
So as they're coming back down, she had never even heard of Vista or the 78 freeway or anything by Gulfer Road. Like, none of that to her was familiar.
Okay. Yeah, because you being a South Bay girl, like, you had no idea.
If you're from North Park, you really don't come up here for anything. There's no reason to know.
The locals don't like to venture. I've realized that locals down in actual main San Diego don't venture out of San Diego, which is like, you guys need to venture to North County.
Not to the rural areas.
Okay.
So as they're driving out, again, she's completely lost. It's pitch black. It's dark.
Yeah.
At around 4 something in the morning, 5 a.m., they pull over and he gets off. And in the trunk, he had packed an extra pair of shoes. He had rolled up the gun and had her put it in the front passenger seat under the seat. He had her pack a heavy, like, ceramic vase. And he gave her instructions to, like, follow that day as far as, like, how to clean the car. He packed an extra pair of gloves, plastic gloves that he used to clean the gun, to clean the ammo, and then to take everything out and put on the new clothes. So he gets off, he switches his shoes, and then he retrieves the gun from under the seat. He grabs the vase and he hits D'Angelo in the head with it, and this is how he wakes him up. So D'Angelo wakes up, obviously disoriented, what's going on, So he tells him to get off the car and walk across the road. So he does as he's told. He's at gunpoint during this. So he walks across the road and he hears Wesley tell him, "This is for all the snickering and hissing. I thought we were brothers. I'm sorry. I love you, brother." And then pow, pow, pow. 3 gunshots go off.
Wow. Okay.
So he runs back. He jumps in the trunk of the car. And then he tells her to go around, close all the doors to the car, and like, let's go. She says that during this chaos, she broke a nail from slamming the car doors. And he claims that he was never in the trunk. So she starts to GPS how to get home because remember, he's in the trunk. She has no idea where she is. So she puts in GPS from her current location to his house because she's planning on going to drop him off. As he's in the trunk, he's yelling like, hey, are you okay? Are you okay? Like, what are you doing? She says that during this shock, like she was trying to like take everything in, trying to figure out how to get home. And that he starts telling her like, you idiot, like, what are you doing? Like, don't go to my house, go to your house. You should be going home at this hour. So she starts to like freak out. She's trying to figure out how to get home. She goes to like a little back alley behind her house and she runs in and she grabs some of her brother's clothes and brings it down for him. She's assuming for him to change. He takes it and he wipes the gun down with it and the shoes. So then he can turn around and say that her brother's the one that killed D'Angelo and frame him for it. So then they realize that his cell phone's in the backseat of the car. And he's like, okay, you need to go to Mission Bay and you need to dispose of the cell phone. And she's like, well, I don't have gas. So they had already used her card at the liquor store. She worked as a babysitter, so she didn't make a lot of money. So after a little bit of arguing, he magically finds his card or his money. And he's like, okay, let's go to the gas station. I'll fill up your tank. This was like so annoying to her. And even like during the trial, like she still showed like her annoyance and like frustration with it. And it was just kind of funny because it's one of those things that like, that's what you're hanging on to out of like the whole situation.
Yeah.
But he fills up her gas tank. She goes to Mission Bay. He dumped the phone. And then she goes back home. And she's just like, she drops him off at his house. And there is the neighbor's footage from the camera that they were like hugging and kissing in the street, like right before he went inside. And then she drives off and she goes home and that's that. So this was all, again, early hours in the morning, somewhere between 3 and 5 a.m. 5:30 a.m. on July 12th, 2017. This man's going to work. He works early hours. He works in construction or like concrete, and he works odd hours. Like he works super early. So he's driving on Twin Oaks Road, and his headlights, he sees literally a full body on the road. Obviously pulls over, freaks out, calls 911. The second they arrive, they're able to find his wallet, which has his California ID, as well as his Octa Pharma Blue Visa card. They start piecing everything together. Literally, this happened at 5 a.m. By nighttime, they had already retraced the last 24 hours. And they already had them arrested, both Shyrehl and Sheffah. So they worked pretty quick on this.
Wow.
So as they're going through, they find that in the last 24 hours prior to, so I guess like July 10th, Wesley had searched for, and let me name the Google searches, which are insane.
Oh, wow. I mean, this is crazy.
This is always the fun part. So he searched for remote places, San Diego canyons, and non-emergency areas. Do you know what that is?
No.
So that is areas where police or fire departments can't access within a certain time frame. Like it's hard to reach places.
Non-emergency areas.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
So they were on the 15th.
Yes.
Okay. So they were probably over by Deer Springs Road, where it turns into Twin Oaks. So like that's where, okay, because that area, it's hills. There's nothing out there really other than the freeway that goes connecting you from like San Diego, Escondido up to Temecula. Like,
oh yeah, it's supposed to be like all abandoned land basically.
Mm-hmm. It's like the Indian reservations are not too far from there, but it's like a prime spot to like have a gun go off and no one hear it. So okay, continue.
Well, his explanation for the Google searches, because obviously it came up during the investigation, is that he was looking for places to shoot his music videos because he obviously likes to drink and smoke and like play loud music, and he can't do that. One, being underage, and two, in like public.
Yeah. Okay.
So it was an artist creative thing. He also claims that the shoes were her brother's. They weren't his. But they had D'Angelo's blood and his DNA. So not sure how that one works out. He also explains that there's joggers in there that did have D'Angelo's blood, but those were from days before when him and D'Angelo got in a fist fight, and he gave his joggers or sweatpants to his girlfriend to save because he didn't want to take responsibility for the fight since they had already moved past it. Which again, doesn't line up.
Okay.
He also claims that, again, he never got in the trunk, that he was trying to protect her. Like he knew that she was trying to protect him. So that's why he didn't turn her in. But she's the one that fired the gun.
No, I just think that he was using her as a scapegoat, as a setup to where he committed the crime, but she was going to take the fall.
Which, yeah, I can believe that she was a getaway car. Like, that's not a question. Obviously, based on like all the evidence they have. But I don't think she was capable of pulling the trigger.
Yeah, but then again, like you said, like she had no idea what she was getting herself into. It was all just like, hey, listen, I'm gonna take care of everything. Drive here, drive there, drive everywhere. It's all gonna be okay.
Well, shockingly enough, based on they went back to the crime scene and they found her actual nail that had broken off.
Okay.
They found his wallet, his ID. They also found that he had been seated at the time, like sitting on a sidewalk at the time during the shooting.
Mm-hmm.
So he had no way of seeing the shots coming to him. So it was from behind.
Execution style.
Yeah.
Okay.
They did find footage of them at the liquor store. They were able to match the cell tower locations. Because at some point during the night, her mom called her to check in.
Mm-hmm.
And she told her she was still babysitting or working. Even though Wesley had told her she wasn't supposed to answer the phone, she still did just to like give her peace of mind. So that also pinged off of a certain tower that lined up with the time. All in all, she ended up getting a plea deal. So she pled guilty to voluntary manslaughter and a testimony during his murder trial. And she was granted 6 years with time served. She was sentenced January 7th of 2019. He started his trial that ended up lasting 2 weeks, 4-hour deliberation, and he got obviously guilty first-degree murder. The same judge that presided through the murder trial was also his sentencing judge, which isn't common.
Oh, wow. It's not?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
So normally based on like timelines or their caseload, they'll do one part, but they won't always be able to do both. Mm-hmm. In his case, it was the same judge that saw both. And since the judge had heard all the details, he sentenced him to the maximum, which was 80 years to life in prison.
Wow.
The shocker part is that both of them are currently in Northern California prisons. And they both have a profile up on Write a Prisoner, which is a website where you can see what their crimes are, get the details on them. You can either email them or put money in their books or FaceTime them. I had no idea this existed, which to me says that he probably still has the multiple girlfriends that are putting money in his books and scamming them and using them. Hasn't changed.
Now, when you say books, because everybody understands what you mean by putting money in their books.
Okay.
What is that?
So it's basically putting money in their bank account in jail so they can either buy food or clothing or hygiene items. Anything you really need in there that isn't provided by the prison already. Like they'll give you your 3 meals. They are not entitled to give you snacks or to give you, more than 1 bar of soap, maybe like a month or whatever it is. So if you want to buy extra soap so you can take more showers or, credits for phone calls is usually what they're used for, anything like that.
Okay, perfect.
So the state ended up paying for D'Angelo's funeral services. They paid a total of $5,544.95. And that is to be paid back to the state by both Wesley and Sheffah. Either during their time in prison, obviously for him, or when she gets out, she will need to repay that.
Wow. Okay.
which I didn't know that the state did that.
I had no idea.
So that was new.
That's just heartbreaking too. I mean, honestly, he was what? He wasn't even 21 yet,
No,
right?
he was right under 20 years. He was right under 21. He was like a couple months away.
I mean, he had his whole life in front of him, and it's just like, okay, like, but at the same time, like, I mean, the 90s had so many gang related like crimes that were like this, where, you're in a gang or you're associated with those kind of people that have, you owe somebody money or whatever it is, right? You look at someone, or even too, you cross the wrong street and someone notices and you're gone.
Yeah.
That's how little some of these things escalate to.
It just sucks that it seems like D'Angelo is trying to like straighten his life or like build something for himself and aspiring to more. And Wesley seemed like he was really talented and could have had a bright future. And based on the decisions he made, he not only stole his future, but Sheffah's and D'Angelo's. And all three of them suffered the consequences for one person's actions.
Wow, that's crazy. I definitely feel like I believe her testimony more of the events going through. And it's just wild because he was just trying to set her up to be the person taking the full blame. And it doesn't surprise me at all.
I am glad that she spoke up for herself. A lot of times women won't speak up again because they're like in love with someone.
Yeah.
She claims that she never knew about the girlfriend or the wife or any of the other women in his life. He claims that he was straight up from the beginning. He was very honest and he let her know like, oh, you're still young. You're in your party phase. My priorities are different. Like this isn't a long-term thing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I believe her more than I believe him. Obviously, he literally makes any excuse he can to excuse his behavior.
Wow. Well, that is a wild story. Like that's like something that you see in a movie. That's how insane that one is. And it's like, wow.
To leave your best friend on the side of the road. A lot of the new media outlets covered it as like, oh, aspiring rapper, and kind of left it at that. So the way that the San Diego Reader went in depth and I was able to line it up with obviously the other resources that we named, it really made it easy. They did so much of the grunt work of the research and so many of the details that a lot of the other media missed.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, thank you so much, Angie. So paying our respects to D'Angelo and his unfortunate death, and may he rest in peace. Now we've reached the end of our episode, and we have our SBS.
Small Business Spotlight.
So this business that I am going to discuss today, I went back and I visited them a while back. Since we got busy in June, July for our wedding, I hadn't had a chance to share this with you guys. But this place is awesome. It's right there in Carlsbad Village, right in the downtown area. And what's really unique about this place is their restaurant. It's like there's a restaurant, there's a food bar, or either like one of those like juice bars, and there's an actual bar. But all three locations they were created and they use those shipping containers.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's those shipping containers, and they're they're customized to where they have like open doors, and they're cut out, and they're full working kitchens or full working bars, and a little restaurant.
Yeah.
And it's all three little different locations, all in one little spot.
Oh, so it's like divided up.
Yeah, it's slightly divided up, and this place is called Crackheads. And the reason why it's called Crackheads is because they mainly do like breakfast sandwiches, but they're open, from 7 to 10 o'clock at night.
Okay.
And what's really cool is it's right next to the train tracks. So if there's like an upstairs like little patio, it's all open seating, and you can see the coaster that goes up and down the coast, and you see all these people just enjoying their day, which is really nice.
Oh, nice.
When I went, I tried one of their breakfast sandwiches, and it was actually really good. I had the kids with me, and the kids had like another breakfast sandwich and a breakfast burger, and it was just really tasty food. And I just really liked the concept of they liked using the shipping containers, and it was just really cool. Like the The atmosphere was very friendly. It was very nice.
Yeah.
It was just nice to just enjoy.
And for those that don't know, Adrian is a breakfast at any hour kind of day kind of person. So
I can have breakfast at night, and I'm talking about like you tell me like eggs Benedict or even like huevos con weenie or huevos con salchicha, which is like basically my favorite comfort food, which is eggs with cut up hot dog.
Yeah.
I had that growing up as a child way too many times, and that's why I think I'm addicted to like hot dogs and glizzies and all that stuff. But please go check out Crackheads. They're located right there on Carlsbad Village Drive, and you're not going to want to miss them out.
Make sure to tune in every Monday for your next dose of Where in the World is Crime in San Diego. Make sure to catch us on the next case.
And in case we don't see you, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Tell me where in the world is
Crime in San Diego.